Today I get to kill two birds with one stone. Some people have been asking about my server, and today I need to perform some maintenance on it. So I give you my 2009 Apple Xserve. If we take a look at the tag on the back, we can see that it is an A1279. Plugging that into everymac.com informs us this is an early 2009 Xserve. While we're back here, let's take a look at the I/O choices that Apple made for this computer. So first we have an indicator light. You can press that when the server is on a rack and it will turn on a light on the other side. That helps you identify one server among many without needing to unplug power or something. Next we have a serial port there. That's right, that's an actual serial port. Now 2009, it's a little while ago, but I still find that to be an unusual choice. There's a possibility that's meant for KVMs that can be serial controlled, but who really knows? Next is a display port, because it's Apple, so who would want VGA or DVI? Moving along, we have two 1 gigabit Ethernet ports, which I'm now fully taking advantage of, and we'll take a look at that a little later. Then we have what I believe are two FireWire 800 ports. I don't know, I don't live the Mac life. So I'm just going to assume those are and not bother Googling it. Followed by two USB 2.0 ports. There are no native USB 3.0 ports on this computer, hence why I have a USB 3.0 PCI card. Finally, we have redundant power supplies. Now, you would actually only get one power supply at a time when you ordered this from Apple. The second power supply was an option. Each of these power supplies are 500 watts, which means that the computer can run at 500 watts total because it is meant to be able to have one of these fail. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this beast. So here we have two 2.93 gigahertz Xeon processors that have 4 cores and hyper-threading. We have 12 gigs of RAM here, 12 gigs of RAM here, for a system RAM total of 24 gigs. We have 3 drive bays over here and a standard super drive, I believe is Apple's term, right there. Just a DVD drive. We have 2 PCIe 16X slots over here. Currently, one has a USB 3.0 card. The other will be utilized today. Now my biggest problem with the Apple Xserve are the drive bays, and this is a really big problem for these 2009 models. So this is a drive bay for the Apple Xserve, specifically the 2009 models. It is a normal SATA drive, so I was able to put a 1 terabyte Samsung SSD in here. This is the only way I have to put a drive in here. These two drive bays are filler drive bays, doing nothing more than keeping dust out of there, although not really doing that well of a job. So, I've been very limited in the storage I can put in here. This is the only correct way to actually add more storage to this computer, and you're only ever able to get these drives up to 1 terabyte. You're not actually supposed to put your own drives in here. Matter of fact, Apple is so particular about this. The drives mount with these screws that go into rubber grommets, and the rubber grommets are supposedly designed to match the frequency that the drives spin at. So, putting in a non-standard drive could invalidate your warranty just based on the rubber grommets. Now, these drive bays are extremely rare. The 2009 series was the last series of Xserves, and they changed over the drive bay format. So only 2009 series drive bays will work on a 2009 server. There are G5 servers that came out before this, incompatible, even though they use SATA drives. This means that the very few times I've actually seen these drive bays, they've been insanely expensive and disappear quickly. So I've been stuck with these two filler drives, and I've thought of different ways of utilizing them, like cutting out these rails and that side, and then trying to run SATA cables from the back and solder on power connectors, and I really didn't want to damage this server because I actually use it. This runs all the time, which is why it's so dirty in there. So the idea of messing something up and being without it, I'm not a fan of. Now, there is actually another way of adding a drive that is official. I believe this is a mini SATA header that you're meant to put a tiny little SSD on, and those aren't very easy to get a hold of, and if they fail, you know, it's not worth it. It's non-standard, they're tiny, I'm pretty sure it's like 100 gigs, it's nothing, it's not worth investigating. The method of adding another drive is actually going to be using a PCIe drive holder for a 2.5-inch drive. Now you could put a mechanical drive on this for 2 terabytes of storage, or hopefully in the future I'm wrong, you can get bigger than 2 terabytes, but that's the biggest reasonably commercially available drive size you can put in there. I think Samsung has a like 16 terabyte enterprise grade drive, but that's going to be insanely expensive. So 2 terabytes is the only real thing someone could put in there. Now, originally I was going to try and make this a hard card, or find something else that was a hard card and fit it a drive, an actual 3.5-inch drive on this in the drive bay in the back, but here's a picture of when I tried to just put a hard drive in there and it doesn't fit correctly, so that idea died. But I realized that I could actually just use this for what it's meant for and move my existing SSD onto it. Now, previously I tested whether or not this computer could actually boot from a PCI SATA drive. Cut to that footage here. And it did work. I was going to make a video out of that, but I figured you guys would rather just wait for this video than watch a 3-minute video where all I do is open it up and boot it off of a PCIe SATA adapter. So today we're actually going to be putting in this 5 terabyte drive in this bay after we move this to here. I'm really looking forward to putting this 5 terabytes pure SATA drive in here, because the entire time I've been using this computer, I've had to run it with an external hard drive connected to it, which is why there's a USB 3.0 card in here. All of the data that I don't want on the SSD is on this external drive. So part of what I'll be doing is migrating from here to here, but I'm not going to bore you with that. The server looks for this drive to automatically mount it on boot up. So I'm looking forward to removing that dependency and moving all the data from here to here and having everything being internal on the computer. Plus that will free up the PCIe lane in the back so I can put something else in there, which, as insane as it may seem, may end up being a Wi-Fi card. More on that later, like the Ethernet connectors. Alright, that's enough yakking. Let's go ahead and actually get this in here and that in here. So first, I'm going to have to take this out. Now, when I put this in here, I want to be all professional-like and actually use a drive adapter. So I have a pretty hefty 2.5 to 3.5 drive bay adapter in here that will now be free to be moved to something else. Unlike most of these, this one's meant to hold a single drive and make it mount exactly like a 3.5-inch drive. So its purpose is rather specific. There we are. And we'll just go ahead and put this in here right away. Deal with computers. I deal with old computers so much, I was going to check the jumpers to make sure it was set to master. Alright, there we go. Oh, it feels so good to finally put a big drive in one of these. Oh, I'm going to be so happy after this. I don't even remember if I had the original drive for this. I don't think I did. So I don't know what RPM it is. I could probably look it up, what they shipped with, but I don't care. I'm not buying rubber grommets for this. So, yep, that one's done. Now, on to the SSD. Now we have these, and there's the drive. No matter how many of these I handle, I will always think they feel super cheap. Samsung ones are at least metal on the outside. Now, this. They sell this with their own SSDs. This is actually from Otherworldly Computing. This is guaranteed to be compatible with the Xserve, but that's not really why I bought it. I bought it because it was oh, one of the most affordable ones of these on the market right now. There's not a lot of just 2.5-inch drive adapters like this. And this one is full speed. It's not PCIe 1X. It is a 4X, if I remember correctly. So this will still utilize the full speed of the drive. They rate it at 500 megabytes, which I know one SSD is supposed to be able to do, but I don't remember if I've ever got that to happen. But it'd be cool. Hopefully I'm just not throttling anything here. So, and there we go. It's not quite a hard card, but it's sort of similar. Alright, let's get this installed. That feels pretty good. There we are. It's in there. Now, if you recall back to a Jiraga 1 video on an Xserve, these things get pretty loud. Servers in general kind of are just loud, and that's going to happen as soon as I start plugging it in. It's not going to turn on immediately. The fans are just going to kick on to start cooling even while it's powered off. So I'm probably going to have to change to a headset mic here rather than my typical ones up there. So expect that. For right now, I am going to go ahead and plug it in and let you guys hear the fun that is that. Alright, let the fun begin. Now another thing, the first time you turn on the Xserve after a power loss, it is going to test the fans to make sure they can still run at full speed. And it gets super loud then. Alright, so let's get this thing started. Alright, so the server's not happy about something. I looked up these errors, and it's something to do with the PCIe 3.0 card, which is strange because I've never had problems with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this down, I'm going to pull that hard drive and try and boot it just as if nothing changed, just this drive was moved to the PCIe bus. Alright, we're in, so it did not like this drive. Now, that drive is formatted as NTFS. There's a possibility that the server's having problems with that. I don't even know if I have NTFS 3G installed on this, so let's go ahead and do that. Oh, hey, you know what? I would have to have it installed because the external hard drive is also formatted as NTFS, so obviously it's installed. Duh. Okay, so why didn't it like that drive? You know what? Say it's hot swappable. Let's find out. Alright. Will the Xserve not allow you to hot swap SATA? That's kind of dumb. Alright, well now that it's rebooted and obviously working, let's double check. Now we have internet. So I'm just going to restart and see if it works this time. This is Apple's very useful post stream, by the way. Thank you, Apple. Okay, this time it's just gonna work. Weird. Ah. I don't see the 5 terabyte drive.
This is Editing Agbakuku in the control room. I needed to pause the video and inform you that at this point my microphone stopped recording with my camera. Thankfully I was recording with my headset as well whenever the server was on, so I will have some audio. But when I have the server off, I'm going to have to give it my best guess as to what I was saying at the time. Now I'll give it back to live Agbakuku to take it from here.
Okay, so I've been testing it quite a bit. I've determined that the drive is actually showing up. So if I do fdisk, then we can see that it is actually device C. Now, like I said, it's a 5 terabyte drive, but it's only reading it as 2 terabytes. This is that drive, and if I do sudo part probe, we'll see invalid argument during seek on dev SDC. So, something's going on with the drive. I just pulled this drive out of my desktop where it was working perfectly fine. So there has to be some kind of problem with it and this computer or its SATA controller. So I'm not really sure.
So at this point, I had pulled the hard drive out of the server and put it into my desktop, where it actually did show up as 5 terabytes. So the next thing I wanted to try was taking a different hard drive and putting it into the Xserve. That was another 5 terabyte hard drive. So that would let me test whether or not it was a problem with that hard drive or how the server reads those size hard drives. What else am I saying? I'm not really sure. I like to wave that around a lot. Oh wait, it's going.
Alright, here we go. Okay, let's see if it's showing up. 2 terabytes, type GPT. So, I wonder if there is something to needing... Well, I mean, okay. The external, NTFS, exFAT. So, I think it's having a problem with GPT. I'm going to try looking that up. Both the Xserve and just Ubuntu. I mean, I'm using Ubuntu, what, here? I mean, it's kernel 4.4, so that's pretty dang new here. So that should have GPT in it. I don't know. I'll look it up.
So here is where I talk about what I found after looking up using bigger drives on the Xserve. I'd found several threads talking about how they don't think that you could put a larger drive than 2 terabytes in an Xserve, but no one had actually tested it. The closest thing was someone saying there was a 48-bit limit in the SATA controller, which seemed weird. At this point, I was begrudgingly accepting the fact that unless I could get more drive bays, I will have no choice but to rely on external storage for this server for as long as I use it. However, not being one to give up, I decided to extract the only 2 terabyte drive I have from an older external. That would at least let me add something to the server and give me more reliable internal storage. This is where I broke out my mad scientist tools to start dissecting the hard drive. I've done this a couple of times in the past, but they never make it easy. I was very interested to see what kind of drive they put in it. Since the external product is sold by the same company that makes the internal drive, and they never say what kind they put in there, it's always a mystery what you're going to get. I was just hoping it wasn't going to be a garbage green drive inside of there when I opened it. These suckers are always hard to open. They don't want you doing this, so there aren't any screws on it. As I got it slightly open, I saw something that looked like a dip chip on the side and was concerned I might be damaging the USB control board. After getting it open, I saw it was just a weird piece of plastic. After I determined that I hadn't just destroyed the USB control board, I was very happy, because I wanted to reuse it. I don't know what I'm going to put in there, but I knew I didn't want to destroy it. Now I tried to take the drive out, and it proved to be more difficult than I had anticipated. It made this look a lot harder than it really should have been. I mean, geez, dude, just pull it out. There you go. After getting it out, I was really happy to see that it was a black drive in there. I wasn't sure what that was at the time, but I knew it was supposed to be one of the better ones. I looked it up, and much to my surprise, it was actually one of the highest end types of drives you could get at the time. So how it ended up in an external hard drive, I'm not sure. Maybe they made more than they could sell, so they had to stuff them somewhere. Any way that it happened, that was going to be a great drive to put in the server.
Alright. Here we go. I have a strong suspicion this is going to work. Moment of truth. And 1.8 terabytes. All right. Well, that's weird. It's 95 and... Alright, whatever. Let's try mounting it. See what happens. Bam! Okay, there we go. So that drive is now mounted. Alright. Oh, man, that was a lot of work. Alright, well, that pretty much wraps up everything on the Xserve. That was the most needed upgrade I needed for it, but it didn't really do what I wanted. I'm still going to have to use that external hard drive on this, unfortunately. Yeah, 2 terabytes, I mean, that kind of sucks. I really wish I could get 2 more of these, because 6 terabytes would be a lot more usable. But, hey, win some, you lose some. Might be able to rip out that CD drive and get some kind of SATA adapter for that and route it to this bay and have a drive floating loose there. That could work. Matter of fact, the CD drive may not have the same limitations that the actual drive backplane in there does. So you could possibly read a bigger SATA drive through there, which would, as you can tell, be kind of funny. So maybe someday I'll take a look at that, but maybe not. I don't know. I really do use this, so it kind of sucked having this down all day for me. But, yeah, it kind of covers everything I wanted to cover about the Xserve. The Ethernet thing I've been teasing about will be a follow-up video coming out shortly, where I test out the Powerline Ethernet adapters that I actually give this an internet connection with. They're supposed to be gigabit compatible, but they definitely are not. So stay tuned, because I will be putting that to the test. As for now, hopefully someone found this interesting, maybe even learned that 2 terabytes is the true limitation here. So, I'll see you guys later.